Hello and welcome back to part 3. Here you see I have the airframe now all painted in its primary colours, grey on top and white on the bottom. The white I've used Mr. Surfacer White 1500, and obviously I mentioned earlier what I sprayed it with on the primer. So what I've done is I've sprayed the underside that I know needs it for the first colours I'm going to put on. I've done the band around the two booms, and I've also done the underside of these two wings and a small piece or small area on here, on these two sides here. The paint I'm going to use is going to be Mr. Colour. I've got C329 yellow, and I've got a fluorescent orange C173. So I'm going to use those two. And then obviously the main top colour is going to be Tamiya Royal Light Grey XF80. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. There's not a great deal of colour information on the kit itself, but then, you know, if you're experienced enough, you'll do a little bit of research. I've done a little bit of research, and I think that's as close as I'm going to get to on there. And so the little kit, the information, the paper call out here, or the colour call out here, fluorescent orange, light aircraft grey, and identification yellow. So the closest I'm going to get is this, and I've used this on other models for that sort of colour scheme. And also what I've done is, if I just show you just briefly here, in the kit comes a lovely little bit of brass rods that have obviously been turned. I have pulled them out because I needed to do a test fit on here. 2 holes, one in here and one in here, and the brass rods do fit. They look good, so I'm going to put them on before I start painting, so I'm not faffing about with trying to get these coloured over. So there we are at the moment. I've also done all the little bits, the undercarriage and the wheels and so on and so forth, in a primer ready to paint, and I'll add those as I'm going along. I'll show some painting on that. So let's get on with painting this little beauty, and I'll see you in a little while. So we have the fluorescent and the yellow paint on. That's all fixed and that's all ready. That's dried overnight. And what I've done is I've sanded down, not the whole model, because if I did, I'd probably do some damage to all the hard work I've done. But basically, I've just sanded down these lines here where the bit of a step on there on both sides. So I've done all that, and these as well, and here, and tried to sort of get the steps down on that, and also here. And it's just me being picky, really. Like I say, here as well, and they'll all be ready. But what I have done, or what I can show you, is I used a 2500 grit. This is a GSW 2500. I also used a 4000. I know it's 4000 because I wrote it on here, but a 4000 grit, a polishing grit. But I thought I'd point something out. I've also got this, and this is a flexible sanding grit, and this is a 2500 grit. Now, I don't know if many people sort of like spot it much, but I do try to sort of like look at the products when I'm using them. This particular one is, believe it or not, smoother than this one. So if I was to use this one on here, I know I'd strip some paint off. So I had to be very careful of how I was using or how I was sanding this. So I had a closer look, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but if I get closer to the mic, I'll run my finger over. Let's see. Hardly any noise there at all. It's fairly smooth for what it is. And I'll run my finger over this one. You can tell the difference. You can hear the noise on this. It's quite loud. This is rougher than that, so I was not going to use that on this model because it would have stripped the paint off, and yeah, it would just ruined all that hard work. So I just thought I'd point that out and show you. So you have to be careful sometimes on how you use your grits on, especially a painted model. The next stage here is to put the masking on. We'll mask up all this ready for the grey paint. So I'll get this done and I'll come back showing you how I've masked it and then what it looks like once it's had the top paint on. So I'll come back in a short while. So here we are now with the masking tape all applied. A little bit of masking fluid around there and those little awkward bits I couldn't really get the tape or cut the tape to size. So it's ready for the paint. Masked up, as you can see. Looks a bit untidy, but it takes absolutely ages to do masking, especially cutting in all those little fiddly bits. So there we are now, and I've just got to be extra specially careful with these brass pieces here that I don't bend them and just ruin the build otherwise. The next stage now, we'll give the model its final coat and come back. We can remove the masking. So I've not long finished the grey paint. I've given it plenty of time to dry, so I think what we'll do now is we'll remove the masking tape, bearing in mind I need to be very careful with these. So let's see what the outcome is and see whether I have to do any touch-ups with a paintbrush. So let's have a look. I've got all the masking off now, so just have a quick look over to see what the outcome is. A little bit peeled off there and a little bit of ingress there with the masking. Let's have a look. I can't see any more, just those couple of bits, and because they're so small I can go over those quite easily. So looking at that, that's not too bad. I'm pleased with that. A little bit of sanding I think on the actual airframe, not much, just a little bit. Let's have a look here. So it doesn't look too bad. A little bit of paint to come off there, so I'll touch that up. But on the whole, I'm happy with that. Let's have a look at this one. Be careful of that piece of brass. So yeah, there we go. So a couple of bits here to tidy up. I'll let the paint dry fully. I'll give it all and a little bit here. So I'll tidy those bits up. I can touch them up in a little while. But I think what I'll do here is I'll give the paint a bit of time to dry, harden off a bit, and then I'll come back, and what I'll do is I'll look at these surfaces here, here, and here. Well, to be honest with you, it won't really be that because they will be like that. So you'll probably not see much of that, but I have sanded those, the other ones, the yellow. But looking at it, I used Tamiya paint with Tamiya X28 thinners. If I was to use Mr. Colour and use Mr. Colour levelling fluid, that finish would be absolutely amazing. But as it stands, it's looking okay. So on to the next step. Okay, I'm at that position now where I have to make a decision how I'm going to put this canopy on. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have the canopy slightly open, like so, and then this might not work because it just keeps falling off, but there we go. And then I'll have this on in a slightly open position, don't expose too much, as you can see there. So what I'm going to do here is I'll glue that in position, and hopefully the crystal clear that I use will seal any edges up, and then I can, once that's dry, I'll paint that. I'm going to hand paint it, I'm not going to spray it, because if I put masking on, I'm likely to damage all the work that I've done at the moment. So that's the kind of location that I want it at. So once that's in place, I can then think about varnishing it with a gloss so that I can start on the decal. So let's see how we go with this. Okay. So I've got the canopy on. I've used 2 glues. I've used micro crystal clear for the front, and I've used super glue for the back canopy. I just thought I'd try 2 different types for it, to be honest with you. So the next thing for me to do is a bit of hand painting on the details around the canopy, and then once that's set and dry, I will use this Umbral Clear gloss varnish over the whole of the body, so I can put the decals on, or start to put the decals on. I like using the Umbral gloss varnish. It works well for setting in the decals. Right, after allowing some time for the glue to dry, I then painted the canopy with the same colour. I hand painted it with a paintbrush. I wouldn't say it was fiddly, you just got to take your time. I did use the same colour, Tamiya paint. The only thing you need to be careful with Tamiya is when you put the paint down and you move on to another part with a paintbrush, and if you decide to go back to that area where you've already put the paint down, Tamiya tends to, it's a bit like Mr. Colour really, they tend to reactivate the paint and it makes an awful mess. So you have to really go for it and really commit yourself and put as much paint on a paintbrush of this size and work it with one fell swoop. So for instance, this bit here, it looks like it's been airbrushed, but it hasn't. I've just taken the time and I've put a massive amount of paint on there and spreaded that around in one foul swoop, because if you try to paint it like that, it won't work. I was going to try it with a Vallejo colour. I was going to use sky grey, but it was just a little bit too light, so I've used the original colour, and I'm happy with that now. So I'm going to give that a few hours to dry before I put varnish on the whole of the airframe, ready for the decals. So one thing I would point out, I'm not sure whether they will work. I've got this on the decal sheet. It comes with the black lines, which will go on the underside. So when you look at the instructions, there you go. Let me just pull that out. So these decals are part of the build. I guess I've got to trim and cut and try and save as much as I can when I'm laying them down. So fingers crossed, I've got enough for all. Oops, careful there. I've got enough for everything that I need. So that should be fun. So I'll come back when I'm ready to start laying down the decals. Right, so I've got the airframe all ready for putting the decals on now. So what I've done is I've just cut out the main strips and roundels and registration for now, because there's quite a lot of stencils to do. So I'm just going to concentrate on the video and getting this section and the bits that you can see all on here. Apart from that and any of the little stencils, I'll do them off camera because there'll be quite a few. So I just thought I'll go through the main bits so you can see how it's coming along, and then hopefully once I've done that, I'll crack on with all the little bits of stenciling. This should start to look really nice when it's done. So the main decals are on. I've put them on the sides, as you can see, and I've also done one of the black strips underneath just to test to see how well it went on. And I have to say it went on very well. There was no hitches with that. And also, like I said, just done the wings. I don't want to manhandle them too much because I don't really want to break anything, but it went on very well, top and bottom. I have made some of it look a bit worn on the inside there. I might do a little bit more later on top, but the decals were really nice to put on. They do take about a minute and a half to soak through, so it's not a problem. But the next stage is to put these black strips on underneath, across here and on the wings, and this is what I'm hoping it to look like. I'll come back when I've got those done. Probably not going to put that on video because I probably need to get my magnifying glass out to work on this lot. I had a good think about this, and I said earlier that I was going to get on with the decals and then come back when they're done. But I think it might be wise, if at all possible, to show me doing this process so that, you know, if anyone decides to have a go at this model, that maybe it can be of some assistance to the modeler. But I'm going to try with my utmost to try and or show how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right way or the best way or whatever, but I'll give it a crack and let's see if I can come up with a way of doing this, because I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as just looking at the picture there. So we'll have a look. These are the strips that I've got. There's 4 of them, and hopefully there's enough to do this. From putting this on earlier, this went on really well, so I'm hoping that if I can measure and cut these strips to how I need them, they're going to go on quite well. So fingers crossed that doing this earlier has given me some hope to get in this section and the other 2 wing sections. So let's crack on and see how I can get on with this. Okay, so I need to get rid of a little bit here and a little bit there before it all dries in. I'm going to use one of these Wilkinson's blades, really sharp. You can only use them once because you lose their edge after a while. Right, I managed to trim this down using a Wilkinson blade, which I cut the edge off, or the top off here, so that I could get into here and get around here, give it a nice sort of sharp edge. That's the first one down in place, so it's a case of carrying on with the rest. So let's see how we go. Right, for the next one, I'm going to attempt to do just one whole long length from here to here, which on the picture here is this one. Whether it's right or not, I don't know, but I'm going to try. But what I've done is I put some blobs of micro set all the way along here, and and we'll see if it takes to it. So we'll crack on with that one. Right, I've got it on, but whether I can manipulate it to how I want it is another thing. So let's see how we go. We may have to use my. Got to be very careful here. I could end up losing this. Just got to keep an eye on the about here is here. Got to get that off without damaging the paint. So let's have a quick look. So I'm going to have to press on here very carefully. Hang on. Let's just have a quick look. I've got to get that in line. There we go. And with all my patience, I've got to try and get that cut. Oops. Do it again. Look. If you can see it, hopefully the camera's picking it up. Gentle. Yeah. Don't want that on there. But I may well be able to use it. So put back on its. So the next bit, if I can, is I've got I may have to just. I was hoping to get away with just. There's some bumps here. Just here. So I think what I may have to do is play around a bit. Let's get that in there. Got a feeling I may have to cut here. So using this blade, it in, and it's magic. Oh. Surprisingly tough, these decals. I'm quite surprised. So get that. Here we go. It's there, isn't it? I'm trying to cut it without cutting into my paint work. Okay, right, let's just leave that there for the moment. And we'll work on that in a second. And then we'll pull this one down. Trying to do it without creating any paint scratches or damage to the decal. So I'm looking while I'm at it, seeing if I can create as best I can what I need to. Now, under there. So now what I've done is I've put a bit of micro sole on here to help soften up the decal, and I'm hoping that I can get this decal over some bumps and shrink the decal into place. They are conforming quite well to some of the body, and with the manipulation of the microsol, I might have to work that a few times, but I'll let that dry, allow it to shrink into the recesses, and then anything that I can't really get with the black decal, I will just paint. The problem I've got at the moment is I've got quite a bit of loose stuff here, and it's causing me, here we go. So I think what I need to do is allow it to dry before I play around with it anymore, and then put some more microsol on and then trim. So let's get that off of there. We'll leave that. So let that, yeah, he's got to come off. Don't want him sticking on there. In fact, I'll do it now while I can, while it's wet. This blade that I'm using is so sharp that you really don't need to put, in fact I'll let that dry, but you don't need to put any force on it at all, none whatsoever. And we'll let that dry, and I'll put some more on so we can help shrink it in place. We're now on to the next strip. Right, the next one has got to go roughly here. So that's my next back stripe to put on. So we'll crack on with that one. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, so I've got a couple more bits to do on this bottom half, but what I'll do is I'll do that off camera, but you've got the gist of how I've managed to put these decals on. I've just got this one last little piece here. So I did this mostly by eye and then a pair of scissors. I kind of got it trimmed, so you can see how I got it trimmed there. And what I'll do is I'll put that on. And I may try and fiddle about with the cut angle before I put it on. As you can see, it will fit on there. Well, I'll get that sorted in a minute. And then I've got one last piece to go down here and across the other wing. I'll do those off camera and then I'll show you when I've done them. Right, so here we are with the black stripes completed. The only little thing I have to do once they're fully dry is where the wheel wells are. I will trim them nice and neat. I don't want to touch them now because they're still soft and that. So I've got a little bit left over to do the doors. There's a little bit to go on here and a smidgen there. But all in all, they went on really well. Just a lot of trimming and cutting. I'll be honest with you, this bit here and this and these little fragments here on the corner and here, it took me absolutely ages to keep going back and checking and going back and checking, you know, the rule, measure twice and cut once, so to speak. So that's what I was kind of doing there. I think I've achieved the pattern I need. So we'll let them dry overnight. I will then trim these sections up, put a little bit on the doors. And I think, looking at that, pretty much done. I shall put some panel lining into the recesses and everything. So ignore those. Those are just little bits of blue tack on there to stop the wings from hitting the ground and bending these. But yeah, pretty good so far. Happy with the decals. It's surprising how strong these decals are. They're very strong indeed. So I wouldn't worry too much overstretching and abusing them slightly. They can take a bit of stick. So from this point on, a few extra little bits and bobs to do on the wheels and undercarriage. Then I'll look at putting some panel lining in. Okay, the decals are on. The stencils are on, all but a few that I left off from the underneath. There's no point putting them on, to be honest with you. You're not likely to see them. So I've only put a few where the chances are you can see them when you're sort of at a funny angle with it. I've put all the stencils that I know need to be on here. You can see them here across the top, all the little ones, just as you can see. It kind of gives it that nice little finish, really. Like I say, in some areas, there's just no point in putting the stencils on. So I've not bothered with the rest of it. There's quite a lot to go on the bottom there, but there was no point, not unless you were going to fly it and have it in a funny angle. I have put all the stencils on that I think need to go on here. There are some along the front here that I excluded. There was really no point because you couldn't see them, because where they go, they will be in the black anyway. Next thing for me to do now is to I'm not going to put these on yet, because what I have to do, if I get them out of the way, is I do need to get the undercarriage on so that I can put it down nicely when I'm working on it. The last thing I want to do is start messing about with the wings in that funny angle. I'm going to put the undercarriage on now, and then I'll come back with those wings on. So let's see where we are with that. So here we are now with a coat of gloss varnish on top of the decals. I've also done quite a bit of stencils. The stencils I left off are mostly underneath this section, not the wings, because there's no point, you're not going to see it. The next stage from there is, once that's dry, we'll put a panel wash on there to accentuate the panel lines. Once that's done, obviously on the wings as well, once that's done, I will attach the wings, do a little bit of detail paintwork on the actual hinges where they fold. Hopefully that will finish the job. But what I will do though is I will varnish these pieces separate. Once I've done the panel lines and cleaned that up and put them on, I will varnish these three sections separately, and I will give them a good coating. I'll tell you which varnish I use when I'm ready. But for now, we'll let this dry, and then we'll do the panel wash. We'll then do the varnish. We'll then put the wings on, and then do that last little bit of detail on the folding bits, and then I'll come back and give you my verdict on what I think about this kit. Okay, so it's now had its panel wash. This is the Ammo Deep Grey that I used on it. I gave it a good 45 to 50 minutes time to dry, and then I washed it off, or took it off with some cotton buds and some tissue. As you can see, the tissue has taken most of it off. So what I need to do now is allow it plenty of time to dry, and then I'm going to varnish it. And once I've varnished it, I'll put the wings on, put a bit of detail on that, and then give it another coat. So here we are, the finished article, all nicely done, tucked away, folding wings, all sorted, all sprayed up, varnished, and I'm happy with it. If it's inspired you to have a go at one of these little kits, and pop along to the website. It's 144th.co.uk. I'm not paid to say that. I just think these are lovely little kits. I thought I'd have a go. Picked it up at Telford this year, or should I say November 2025. Yeah, can't fault it. Enjoyed every minute of it. Every minute of the building process. There's some good colour call outs for it. You've got, 4 of them. So, plenty to choose from. Lovely little kit. If you're an experienced modeller and you can handle resin and you haven't got a lot of room, these are ideal for that. But I just thought I'd throw it out on YouTube. And it's nice. I can't fault it. It's a good kit. There's a good bit of information that you need for such a small kit, and the rest of the information you can get online anyway. So yeah, I hope you like it. I'll leave you with some pictures towards the end, and like I say, I'll see you next time, and happy modelling.